Today we're going to look at Galatians chapter 5. Now in this chapter, Paul just really succinctly lays out for us what freedom is really all about. In verse 1, he says, "It's for freedom that Christ set us free. Stand firm and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." Freedom is totally misunderstood in the Christian life or in churches today. Some people say, well, I'm free. I'm free in Christ. I can live however I want. That's slavery, okay? That's how you used to live. You used to live under the passions of your sinful nature. That's slavery to the devil. Other people go a whole other way and they say, now you're free to obey this rule and this rule and this rule and this rule. And that's wrong too. And so Paul lays out the two polar opposites and then how to live free toward the end of the chapter. He says in verse 2, "Mark my words. Paul, tell you that if you let yourselves be circumcised, Christ is of no value to you." So if you let yourself be circumcised, in other words, if you start following after the law and they would get circumcised because they were obeying the law, and you want to follow the law, great, follow the law. But Jesus means nothing to you. It's of no value because you can't have works and grace. It's either free or not free. If I'm going to sell you my car and you give me $1 for it, you know what you got? A good car. And that's what he's saying. It's either free or it's not. And you negate grace by paying for it by your good works. You've ruined grace. Now this doesn't mean that works are not going to follow. In verse 6 he says, of course it is. He says, faith expresses itself through love. Of course you're going to have a good life, a clean life, a life that honors God. But that's because you believe. And the difference is massive. I can't tell you how many people I've talked with, Catholics and others, who have said, man, I got to keep doing good works. I won't go to heaven if I don't. And they are trusting in their good works. You may be in a Protestant church. You may be in a Baptist church, a Presbyterian, a Methodist. It doesn't really matter. If you are trusting in the fact that you continue to do good works, you're trusting in the wrong thing. It's got to be grace and by faith in Christ alone. Now what I'm saying here offends people. And what Paul was saying also offended people. He said in verse 11, brothers, if I'm still preaching circumcision, why am I being persecuted? He says, I am being persecuted because I'm not preaching that you got to be circumcised and obey the law and these kinds of things. And there are people who are working their way to heaven that aren't going to make it, who are mad about this. We're in this series in our church entitled Many Roads, One Way. And we preach about different religions, and each one of them goes back to works. This Sunday I'm talking about pluralism, the idea that there are many roads to get to heaven. Just pick one. Jesus is one nice road, lovely road. But there are others. You know something? People who are trying to obey the law, work their way to heaven, or even people who do that for sanctification purposes, who have this whole list of do's and don'ts, they get mad when you talk about grace. Paul said, is what's going on with me too. But there's a whole other polar opposite of this. You can ruin freedom by sin. Verse 13, you, my brothers, were called to be free. Don't let your freedom indulge in the sinful nature. Rather, serve one another in love. Freedom is not freedom to sin. Freedom means freedom to serve. Okay? He sums up the whole law. He says it's love. Love one another. Just love each other. Now, how do you know if you're loving each other? Look at verse 15. If you bite and devour each other, you're going to be destroyed. If you continually are critical of people and finding fault in people, you know what? You're not loving them. If you have a critical nature and if you're always looking for the wrong in people and, then you're not living a life of love. and you're ruining again the freedom. How do you live in freedom? Well, there's only one way. And I'll tell you right now, you don't have the power to do it on your own. Verse 16, so I say, live by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the sinful nature. Living in the Spirit is how you live this life of freedom. Before I tell you how to live in the Spirit, let me tell you what the results of not living in the Spirit are. Verse 19, the acts of the sinful nature are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. These are things that are all in our sinful nature. We have desires that are wrong. And if you think that you don't, then you don't know yourself very well. You do. We all have these things in our hearts. But, verse 22, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. These are all the things that the Spirit brings. Now, here's the amazing thing about the fruit of the Spirit. You can't fake it. You just can't. How do you go fake a peace, fake joy, fake love, fake gentleness, fake patience? You can't. I'm the worst at this. I usually express everything on my face. If I'm mad, you can see it. If I'm happy, you can see it. If I'm irritated, same thing as mad, you can see it. Some people are better at hiding it than others, but bottom line, you can't fake it. Now, truth is, we can do good things, but the things the Spirit brings, these are attitudes of the heart, and you can't fake them. I can go out and go on visitation, visit people, and lead them to Christ. But when something happens, am I patient? Am I joyful when circumstances go awry? Am I kind? Kindness is love in action, and kindness is oftentimes a response to something that happens to you. You can choose your actions. They sort of come from within you. Are you living in the Spirit? How do you do that? Each day, you got to surrender your life to the Lord. Just like you did the day you got saved. You got to say, Lord, I want you to be in control. Take control of me today. I lay down the reins of my life. You drive. Don't be the co-pilot. Be the pilot. Be the one who leads my life. Hey, do you do that? It needs to be a daily action to let the Spirit of God on the throne and into the throne room of your life. Well, I hope you'll read Galatians chapter 5. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.